Thank you, Katie. Okay. Imagine you're sitting in your stats class in Ambrose Hall on an early Monday morning. You're simultaneously trying to wake up and listen to the concepts that your teacher is trying to drill into your head, when suddenly you hear it. A quiet, creeping voice in the back of your head whispering to yourself about how worthless you are, how stupid you are, and how you should just hurt yourself. That sounds terrifying, right? Well, for many schizophrenics, this is a common occurrence. Mark Vonnegut, author of The Eden Express, a memoir of insanity, and also someone who suffers from schizophrenia, stated, "Knowing that you're crazy doesn't make the crazy stop." And this is so true. According to the survey, a lot of you said that you didn't know exactly what schizophrenia was. And what you also probably don't know is that there are 3 different subtypes of schizophrenia. Today I'm going to explain the 3 different subtypes of schizophrenia, which are paranoid, disorganized, and catatonic. The first type is paranoid schizophrenia. The most common symptom of paranoid schizophrenia are hallucinations, which are seeing, hearing, or smelling things that aren't there. The most common one of those is auditory hallucinations, which is you basically hear voices in your head that aren't there. Another symptom are delusions, which are false beliefs that are proven to be wrong, even if there is evidence. So, for an example of this would be if a patient believes that a doctor is trying to poison them, when really the doctor is only trying to help. That would be an example of a delusion. So, a symptom that is specific to paranoid schizophrenia is auditory hallucinations with prominent delusional thoughts about persecution or conspiracy. So, these delusions tend to be consistent throughout the entire duration of the disease, so they don't change their delusions. So say you believe that you're God, you'll believe you're God through the whole time that you're schizophrenic, which is forever. Margarita Tartakovsky, someone who interviewed many schizophrenics about their disease, stated, "Often the voices people hear are negative and accusatory." A common delusion of paranoid schizophrenia is that the government is trying to watch someone. So say I was schizophrenic, I would believe that the government was watching me, and most of the time it's through a microchip that would be implanted in my body. And they think that they're following him around, usually trying to kill him. So that's a common delusion for a lot of paranoid schizophrenics. E. Fuller Torrey psychologist, said, "Imagine if your brain started playing tricks on you, if unseen voices shouted at you, if you couldn't feel emotions anymore, or you couldn't reason. This is the reality for these people who suffer from paranoid schizophrenia." People who suffer from paranoid schizophrenia, as opposed to the other different types, lead the most normal lives. They are usually medicated, and those help control the symptoms. But a usual trigger is stress. So imagine as college students how much stress you have on a daily basis, and imagine how much more prominent those symptoms would be. To help demonstrate these symptoms, I'm going to play a quick clip for you. It's just auditory, but this is the best way that I felt to describe what schizophrenics actually feel. So, I'll turn it up a little bit. So imagine you're sitting in class, listening to your teacher lecture, and you hear voices like this in the background, getting louder and louder and overwhelming, until that's all you hear. It consumes you. It's pretty hard to concentrate on me while you're trying to listen. And these voices, like I said earlier, are usually negative and very hard to, they tell you to hurt yourself a lot, which makes this disease dangerous. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. So the next subtype is disorganized schizophrenia. The most prominent symptom of disorganized schizophrenia is the disorganized thought process. It makes it difficult to communicate and formulate thoughts. Basically, if you're talking to a person who's experiencing these symptoms, they jump from one idea to the next. They could say something about a dog walking, and then they're saying about how they have homework, and they just jump from one idea to the next, and it's really hard to follow along. Ross David Burke, author of When the Music's Over, My Journey into Schizophrenia, stated, "Am I a mindless fool? My life is a fragment, a disconnected dream that has no continuity. I am so tired of senselessness. I'm tired of the music that my feelings sing, the dream music." I feel like this quote really illustrates into the mind of how a disorganized schizophrenic, how their mind goes when they're experiencing symptoms. Hallucinations and delusions are also prevalent, not as pronounced in this subtype, but they're still present for some people. And these people find it very difficult to carry on through daily life because their thoughts are so jumbled that it's hard for them to carry on daily routines. And they're also very emotionally unstable, and they have inappropriate emotional responses to certain situations. So this would be like somebody at a funeral who starts laughing. They also have a lot of trouble communicating, so they're virtually incomprehensible, like when they have this disorganized thought, so that also makes it very difficult to follow them. And the third subtype is catatonic schizophrenia, which is mainly disturbances in movement. And this can be a dramatic reduction in activity and voluntary movement stop. So that's like, I could just stop at any time. Whenever symptoms could appear at any time, and you just stop. Another thing that could happen is catatonic stupor, which is basically a coma-like state. And nobody knows how long these coma-like states could last for. They could last for like 10 minutes, or they could last for months and months. And it's something people just slip into, and it's because of the schizophrenia. So that's actually really scary. It could happen at any time. And then there's a third symptom that is specific for catatonic schizophrenia is what's called waxy flexibility. So say somebody moved my arm up. I would just hold it in the same position, the same spot, without moving at all, just like a statue, until somebody else manipulated it. And so they literally look like wax statues. So that's very specific to the catatonic subtype, but it's also it's really weird to watch. And they also contort their faces or their limbs to really weird facial expressions, and they'll just hold it for hours. And because of this, it's very, very debilitating. So these people find it really hard to go through daily life well, and these are usually the people who are in the mental hospitals because it's such a debilitating, the symptoms are so debilitating. In conclusion, many people believe schizophrenics are just crazy, when they're really so much more than that. It is a complex disease of 3 types, and each type is terrifying as the next. A man who suffers from schizophrenia said, "My greatest fear is this brain of mine. It is more than just hearing voices, it's a mental illness and a disease." Thank you.